My name is David Ballard Geddis Jr. I'm here to talk a little bit more about the water issues here in the Suncoast area, Pinellas County in general. Most of us that live in the Reclaimed Water Ready to Serve zone here in Pinellas County realize that our land title is being acquisitioned. The variance application works as a fee simple title based on a water crisis that was created as an objective, and we're being placed in bond by an internal private third-party occupation. This occupation is currently using lawn irrigation as a way to develop appropriation rights via some sort of riparian type stakehold. House Bill 639 states that reclaimed water it's destined to be used for laundry and toilet use. Our essential water has been taken hostage, our utility has been taken hostage by this third-party facility, and our water is being labeled as a privilege by this internal foreign party. This privatization has been aided by past political collusion. And they're intent on usurping our elected form of government and replacing it with the private water board despotism, despot. I feel actually that our Constitution itself may have been contravened, intentionally debased, and encoded not to include reality or face evidence in order to give this third-party rights to artificially justify this capricious claim in forming their power over our water access. Before me, I have a few different map depictions here that have shaped our lives in America here. The 50 states is somewhat of an arbitrary fashion or a patch quilt of statesmanship that really makes no sense to the underlying features, the land features below it. This map over here is a broad look at the watershed regions, primarily the Mississippi River, which runs down the center of the continent here. And down below that would be a more detailed map of individual watersheds within the United States. And over here at the bottom would be a map dividing Florida into 5 water districts. And in a closer look, these water districts are being further subdivided into individual water jurisdictions. And the jurisdictions are apparently, due to the pretext I read in the Federalist Papers, are going to be representative of between 30,000 and 50,000 people. The map of the 50 states, with the exception of delineating the Mississippi River down the center here, conceals the underlying reality of the landscape which lies beneath it. The map of the 50 states is concealing watersheds and is hiding a shadowed or hidden political landscape that intends on emerging or rising from beneath it and forming these private individual water jurisdictions. Long before the mapping of statehood was depicted, many of these watershed regions throughout the continent were surveyed and mapped as an initial mapping effort. The preliminary mapping of watersheds as statehoods was not done or not declared. The original mapping of the 50 states did not forthrightfully disclose stakeholdings over water jurisdictions, which now, as hindsight, we can see as being used to shape-shift the disposition of our political future, as we see within the depicted, the jurisdictions depicted within the 5 jurisdictions of Florida. The mapping of the 50 states deliberately omitted this hindsight or stakeholding over these watersheds. It reveals that this fourth night has contravened the legitimacy of the stakeholding as not being forthrightful in its claim. In a sense, omission was used as a third-party tactic to allow time and measure to enfeeble our water resource, hoping to merit the reshaping of this political power and to dissolve our current government. Deliberately enfeebling our water resource was an objective. We got set up from the get-go here in this nation. These individual private water board jurisdictions are stake-held on an artificially contrived water crisis. Our water problems here are not by mistake. Past political indifference concerning our water resource has allowed past political tyrants to exercise this conquest, and they masked conquest as liberty and freedom to do so. Our water situation here is orchestrated by these past politicians that were working for a third party outside invocation. We must assume that the rise of this despotic water power is to be the fallout of a false front mapped among the 50 states. We also must assume that the Constitution was masked and used to underwrite a third-party takeover. We must assume that the private water jurisdictions was the original picture prior to mapping the onset of the 50 states. The mapping of the 50 states was used as a decoy to shadow the coded language of the watershed powers, which were written in the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers are a real deceptive piece of literature. Water and power was the objective written in the Federalist Papers. Once you thoroughly get a deep reading of the point and objective that was being attained. Our Constitution is coded to contain no reality in its truth or face evidence in its self-evidence. The perfect union is a contracted union in Article 6. The Constitution is based on presentiment in the Fifth Amendment, reprisal in Article 1, Section 8 and 10, contracted to an invading ship of war, congressionally clothed, declaring captures of land and water, universally bankrupting, exhausting this nation's resource was an objective to give birth to this 14th Amendment jurisdictional despotic stakehold, disguised, as I said, as individual rights and liberty. This issue is based on the right of expatriatism. There was an Expatriate Act signed in the day before ratifying the 14th Amendment, which actually bases today's Patriot Act. So kind of do the math on that one. Tyranny and prejudice was disguised as liberty and freedom, encoded in the Federalist Papers by guys like Hamilton and Madison and Washington. All these men were Jewish. Our Constitution is debased, underpinned by a internal foreign junta or a pariah of such. The powers working of this state mapping effort that we see with this jurisdictional despotism taking place this effort is just as preposterous as the authors of the Constitution. The Constitution states that the Indians of this land are tax-free or tax-exempt, not to disclude, including one or all 12 tribes of the Jews, once again as Indians, the indigenous Indians of this land. Let's keep our wits about ourselves. They were beaten and starved and sent on reservations, and the Trail of Tears was an act of apartheid. We the people is actually an invading ship of war composed of a loyal British militia that's superimposed in as our government, and this "We the People" clause is a union between the British and again the Jews. The colonists are actually being charged as criminals in Article 4, Section 2 by this invading force known as "We the People." The colonists and all others have been under attack in this nation from the onset, clear back to the example set in the Boston Tea Party as a masquerade posing as legal theater. George Washington's farewell address states that the colonists were turned on their heads. The Constitution actually shadows a high seas crime syndicate conducting guerrilla warfare both here and worldwide. Unfortunately, this Constitution is going to be revealed as the largest hoax ever offered in the history of mankind. And currently, us the people, for the last 250 years, have been somewhat held by a maker. And I'm hoping that the people in power today are able to break this equation and try to resolve some of this before it furthers itself into a situation that will spiral out of control. But we might want to be ready for water to be a main focus very soon. Thank you.